play it backwards.
I'm sorry for not saying a lot during that, but I could not hear half of what went on. So I wasn't trying to sit there like a lump. But I didn't want to reply to something and sound like a moron. So,
Rhonda, I'm going to bring this other set of headphones that I have tonight.
Okay. Well, I was going to go buy another pair, but I guess it wouldn't hurt to have those for a week or two just to make sure. So I'd appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I had to blow my nose so bad.
I'm sorry.
I didn't have anything.
That's the other thing I started to say before the Satan headphones popped in is, Jamie, thanks so much. When I had that thing in my throat and you just kind of took over, like, even after I was able to clear my throat, like, it was still there. And then I was just kind of like, you just kind of like started doing transitions. Thank you so much for doing that.
Oh, it was totally intentional. I didn't just let my bossy personality just steamroll you.
I don't even care if that's what happened.
I was totally trying to cover for your scratchy throat.
I don't even care if you were trying to be bossy or not, because otherwise it would have been this. Us staring at each other while I was going.
Well, I know. And what was so funny is I'm like, well, maybe Rhonda will have something to say now. And so I wouldn't talk. And then I'd be like, well, maybe Rhonda has something to say now. And so then I wouldn't talk. And so I'm like, okay. And then she's like, let me pour forth this fount of wonderful little duck story. And I was like, wow, she like was saving it for this awesome moment. So I just thought you were being like a sage from the mountaintop. Just with
yes, that's like all the things to be a sage. No, I apologize. Hopefully next week it'll be better.
Oh, poor Rhonda.
I know, poor me. I feel sorry.
But we really have to play that sound for you. So I mean, it's really scary.
It sounds like I wouldn't like it at all.
It popped in when you were talking to one time. People said, so.
But it wasn't just like, you're talking like this, and it was like, so. It was literally was like that. So. Yes, it's right. Am I right? But you still look all sweet and Rhonda-like, so you're like this, but it comes out like, so.
We did really good keeping a straight face, not reacting.
Oh, golly. This right here is worth a subscription to Patreon right here. I'm telling you what.
Are we recording?
Oh, yeah. This is how the Postcast works. It's after the podcast.
I just said, I had to blow my nose through that whole podcast, and I didn't have any tissue.
I'm not sure if I got that part, but you just said it again, so we definitely have it now.
Well, now everyone knows why I was like,
wow. Okay.
Yeah, we have to have like our survival kits within reach, but off camera. Because a couple weeks ago, I was the same person. I'm like, clean hook something, and I have something here now, and I have my drinks off camera.
Couldn't just take my shirt.
I mean, you can do anything you want, Tina. What are we gonna do? I can only edit so much, right?
Oh, you guys. Wow.
Oh, my gosh. That's good stuff right there. All right. Are we going to do a randomizer? Randy Miser?
Oh, yes.
For those that are listening, we use a randomizing website that we've nicknamed. His name is Randy Miser. So if you ever hear us mention Randy Miser, that's what our randomizer is. We have lots of quirky nicknames and fun things that people will probably pick up on eventually.
Yes, and Randy is my friend because 9 times out of 10 he puts me last. I don't know why.
I think it's so unfair.
Use Randy, and we see what happens.
All right.
Now, Tina, your headphones are now screwed up. Oh, you have them up.
Because I was blowing my nose. I didn't want to.
Thank you. We appreciate it. 3 times now we've talked about.
Might as well go with it now.
Might as well roll with it.
So, yeah, Randy did not disappoint. I'm 3rd. I'm not 4th, but I do not have to be 1st. Yay, guess who gets to be 1st? You have a 1 in 3 chance of being right. Wrong.
Oh.
Bambina.
Yay.
Bambina. So Tina, Jen, Jamie, Rhonda. And so if you're watching the Postcast, we submit these like a week or so ahead of time, and then we are able to read them and make notes or whatever so that we are ready to give a critique. If you have downloaded the critique cheat sheet, you will see that the middle part of the critique sandwich is called the meat. So a lot of times if we're talking about a crit that we have about the piece, we will call it the meat of our critique. And if we're talking about something we like, we will refer to it as a piece of bread. So that's, if you hear us kind of throwing that lingo around there, that's what that is all about.
So our critiques are not keto.
You hope they're not keto. You don't want all meat.
Right?
There's no bread in this story at all. It's horrible. It is so low carb.
Don't make me laugh, please.
You started it.
Sorry.
You did it.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. So Tina's story is first. Now, these are available, yes, somewhere for people to look at.
Only to our Patreon subscribers. They get to read
Well, let's
them.
just take a moment to say thank you, Jen, because she is the one who makes sure you guys have everything. Like, whoa, who just walked by Rhonda's house?
That was my husband. Yeah.
Is he dressed? Because he didn't appear to be.
I apologize for that.
Well, okay. So anyway, moving right on. Yes, Tina's piece here. What kind of feedback are you looking for with this piece?
Well, what I had requested was just your impressions as readers. I do have some things I'm looking for, but I don't want to call your attention to it ahead of time because then you'll see it.
Are we allowed to know, is this the very beginning of your novel? Or is
this a new beginning that I just wrote.
So I open the book and here is this page.
Yes, first page.
Okay, so as a reminder, you do not get to talk while we are discussing our sandwiches. You have to be in...
Can I request roast beef?
You should be requesting a meatless sandwich because then that would be all positive.
Okay.
Okay, so anyway, into isolation with you. So no more talking from Tina. Who wants to talk first about this awesome piece?
I would like to talk first, or I don't mind if someone else wants to, but now remind me, do you guys know, is this the first chapter?
This is a brand new opening. You open the cover of the book, here's this, chapter 1.
Here's my favorite thing about it. I love Angelica. I feel like from this piece, what she wrote, that I actually see Angelica's personality, and I now care what happens to her. And some of the other versions that she wrote, I think that we liked her, and it was good writing, but this makes me like her and care what happens to her, and I think that's awesome. So that would be
I would agree with that because Angelica was sort of an afterthought in the other versions that we had read of this opening.
Yeah.
Like she was a secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Exactly. I agree.
Right.
So I really love that part of it. What I'm not certain that I kind of felt like I didn't totally love all of the description before we get to Angelica. I feel like almost like it was written by two different people. But the second or third time that I read it, I think that my issue might be more the fact that it's written in first person. But yet it's not happening right now. Like when you write first person, it tends to be contemporary, meaning like it could be happening right now, where this we know is happening in the future. So I think that throws me a bit because it just feels awkward to me, but maybe that's just a taste thing. I don't know. Are we each taking a turn, or are we...
Well, we can just discuss, because you're obviously wanting to see, do we feel the same way?
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I did notice the tense shift. There is a village, and then it switches. And I know that that's not the kind of, that's a grammar mistake. I know she's not looking for that kind of feedback, but your contention is
it's not really grammar,
written in that style. It's a stylistic choice. And so I sort of liked it because I felt like if this were a movie, I would be panning in on the situation. So we're talking bigger and getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, down to this little girl here with her dilemma that she wants to buy this doll, right? So, I mean,
Okay.
I guess I would sort of disagree with you, except I do agree that the tense kind of made it difficult to enjoy as much as I would have, right? So for me, I sort of like the stylistic choice there as far as the description, but the tense thing did kind of pull me out a little bit.
Right. What'd you think, Rhonda?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. The thing that sort of distracted me while I was reading it was she said there were things that she wanted to see if we pointed out. And I was kind of in the back of my mind looking for that. So I kind of wish that I had known that to begin with. But, the whole end of it where she describes the sacrifice, the butchering or not. But she is really good at, I don't want to say, what's the word? Just description in things like this. I am not as bothered by the beginning of it, by the tense or whatever. But I just thought by the end of it, it was really, really good.
Yes,
and I know, those Alaska shows, we've seen a few and they do that with the ptarmigans and, get them ready. They prepare them right there in the snow. And I could see it happening, and that helped me a little bit to know actually how easy it was to do these animals, and it wasn't a stretch for me. So that probably helped a little bit too. But I thought that she did a fantastic job. And you're right about Angelica. I do care about her now, where before she was just sort of, she's got a mission, I'll follow, It wasn't my favorite part of the book before, but I do care about her now.
Right. So you bring me around to my second piece of bread too. Is well, first of all, a little bit more me. I almost felt like the first part of this was written by somebody different, and I couldn't pick out exactly, other than because like she's very descriptive on the second part as well, but the first part just kind of felt to me like, all right, so then there's this, and then there's this thing, and then here, and then in the center. But I see what Jamie's saying too, which maybe if I read it again, maybe I'll get that more out of it, about where you have a wide view and it gets narrower and narrower and narrower. So I might want to take another reread of that. But my last piece of bread is I loved that she's starting to show the relationship between Angelica and her father. And the way she does it, it makes more questions. Now, we've read a lot more of this than other people have, but if I was just reading this for the first time, I think the questions that would pop into my head would be, well, why didn't this little girl Angelica know that her bird would be okay and the other guys wouldn't? We know why. Well, because her father picked it out. So what? Well, we know why it would be important that her father picked it out, but the reader wouldn't. And it's enough of those questions to make you want to keep reading, and I absolutely love that. And I love the way that she handled the sacrifices, and I just feel like this is a really great opening chapter.
I totally see what you're saying about it sounding like two things, because I think what you're saying is it almost reads like a prologue, even though it isn't a prologue. Right. It's almost like, I'm going to set the scene for you, right? I mean, sort of the voice of the beginning of the piece, you're saying, kind of sounds like a narrative kind of a voice, and then it becomes a little more personal as it gets in. Yeah, I would not disagree.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. You hit the nail on the head. Narrative versus personal. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say that first of all, the bread is like this. Yes, this whole like scene is very interesting. It's very engaging. It's very much what you want of an opening scene of a book to get someone to be invested in the characters and want to keep reading. Awesome. Yes, first piece of bread. The only little my layer of meat is very skinny. I'm not the person to get pulled out of a book by not knowing what a word is. But I do not know what a tarmin, I don't even know how to say the bird's name is, but I am the kind of person to keep reading till I figure it out. So I would have known by the end of the piece that it was a bird. So whatever, that's me. So the author has to decide, are people going to they're going to keep reading, or they're going to get distracted and have to go look up what this is? I don't know. Personally, it doesn't do that to me. It might do it to someone else. then the only other, I'm telling you, this is like meat spread, and it's a very thin layer of meat, is it says that there's a cart full of dolls when I really wanted it to be just one doll that she wanted. It was the only one. Like, so I did not like that at the end it was a cart full of dolls. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
she says,
she turns around and says, don't buy it, don't buy it.
Don't buy it.
Right.
Sorry,
for all of you that are tuning into the Postcast, we had, well, actually Discord had technical issues, and we lost each other for a while, but now we're back on, and we need to try to get back on track discussing Tina's piece. Now, does anyone remember who the last person was that was speaking?
I was speaking, and I was going on and on about how I just wanted to be one doll and not a cart full of dolls, about Tina's piece. Tina's in isolation. And yeah, sorry that I look totally different also. I just put my face on for date night with my husband. So sorry about that. Anyway, yes, I want it to be I want it to be just one doll that Angelica left behind and could not have.
Yeah, that was kind of heart-wrenching when she was saying, don't buy it, don't buy it, don't buy it. And then the woman bought it for the little girl. It made you think, oh, Angelica can't have it. I agree.
Right.
I agree. It could have other things on the cart, other toys, right? Just
sure.
That needs to be, unless, maybe that plays in later in the story. I don't know. So.
And then so my second piece of bread would just be some little things that I put hearts by on my paper. I liked Lost in a Vast Wilderness from the first paragraph. Much of the beginning that is just so descriptive. I had questions about the pattern that the village was originally designed to fall into, so that was intriguing and fun. And yes, I have a heart by buy it, don't buy it, don't buy it. And also the old man who is bent over and leans heavily on a stick. Like, that just tells you how old we are talking about without really getting into a number or something like that. So again, that's my second piece of bread. Awesome descriptive language from this author.
Okay. Rhonda, do you have anything else to add?
I don't think Rhonda can hear us.
Can you hear us, Rhonda?
Now I can. I couldn't for a second, though.
Jen said, Rhonda, do you have anything else to add? And you just sat quietly.
And stared at us.
Well, I did. Yeah, when I'm like this, that means I can't hear you. Okay. I did have one question. I mean, I already gave all my feedback, but I just wondered if there really was anything wrong with the ptarmigan, or, the old man's, or if her dad is just a meanie.
Well, it wasn't her dad. It was somebody else at the door, right?
Yeah, the priest. Yep.
Priest, yep.
The old man had the ptarmigan that wasn't good enough.
Well, I happen to know the answer to this, but because you are a reader that is fresh to the piece, I will not answer that question for you, because then the author can know that is a question that you have.
But I'm going to assume, because I'm a fresh reader as well to this chapter, I'm going to assume that there was nothing wrong with it, because even though she's a daughter of who she is, she was able to take the bird and get access to be able to atone for her sins. So,
right.
Yeah. So, but that's I thought about that too. I wondered about that too. Well, if she takes the bird, what's going to happen? And then she went right on through, and I was like, All right. Anything else?
All right. Is that it? Can we release her?
Yes, Tina, it's been a long isolation booth time for you since we were like, we're just kidding. We let her talk a little bit. Well, at least through Messenger.
But not about the book.
Not about the book.
I mean the story. And hopefully I can remember everything you guys said like hours ago. It wasn't hours. Yes, well, there were two things that I was looking for, and one of them was the tense. Because I wrote it in past tense, and I wrote it in present tense, and I wrote it again in past tense, and then I split it, part of it in present tense and part of it in past tense, and then I kind of went back and forth several times, because what I was trying to do was paint a picture of a world and then place my character in that world, because that's the beginning of a hero's journey. That's the story arc that I'm using. And so stories like The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and let me think, what's another one? I don't know, like Harry Potter, I guess would be one. You see a world, their regular everyday world, and then you place your character in that world. And so when I first wrote it in past tense, and I was thinking, but this is in the future. So when I say there was a village, it sounds like it's in the past. So I was trying to figure out how to figure that out. So
do you have to state it like there was or there is, like to do a hero's journey? I'm not familiar with hero's journey, so you have to.
Well, I don't think they have to. I mean, like the opening line of The Hobbit is, there was a hole in the ground. Like that's the first sentence of The Hobbit. And then he goes on to describe Frodo's little house, which is the hole in the ground. Because it's a hobbit hole. So
I wonder if, because you're so good at description, what if you were to take everything you wrote but somehow make it talk about it, instead of talking about, like right now you're specifically talking about, then there's this building and then this building and then this building. Instead of that, could you write about a bird? And stay with me here. If you could write about a bird flying over and what it's flying by and whatever, and could that bird be the same kind of bird that they give for a sacrifice? I don't know what kind of bird, if that bird flies.
Ptarmigan.
I'm not sure if ptarmigan can fly.
I don't know what they are.
They're kind of like a chicken of the north.
Oh, okay.
Or a pheasant. They're more like a pheasant, I believe.
So I guess in my mind, I could just see you describing a bird flying, and so it's just saying there was how does it start?
So that you literally get a bird's eye view of the village.
Yes, if that's
right.
Yeah, and so saying there is a village.
That's an idea.
Yeah, you could say
it could be a dove.
Yeah.
Ooh.
The dove.
I don't think they can survive up there. An eagle would probably be
a dove wearing a sweater.
The reason that I chose the ptarmigan for the sacrifice is because doves were white and ptarmigan are white in the winter.
Yeah, that's
right.
a good idea. That's a good point.
Their feathers change.
I think if you get rid of the there is and the turquoise is what it's, if you get rid of there is and change it with something else, I think it'll not only get rid of your tense issue, it will just feel like more descriptive, like the second half of your writing was. Not
right.
I know. Yeah, I know. It's really, I can understand what Tina's saying about the struggle, though, of like, how do you talk about stuff that's in the future?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to say there was, like,
because I don't want to spend the rest of the book trying to describe the village. Like, I just want to, like, here we are coming down out of the camera's in the sky, and we're coming down, and then I said, and in the square there was a marketplace, and in the marketplace there was a girl. So that's kind of what I was doing, and but
I don't know, it's tricky. But
I've written it like 4 different times, and I just can't.
Now you know that it's like,
I was
books in that genre do it. Like I don't read dystopian, so I guess I can't really speak on how to do that. But how do they do it? How do books?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of it is first person,
because
so
it's
like.
adult.
I walk through the square that is blah, 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 and that's not helpful.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to figure out, like, what dystopian books are Hero's Journey. Like, maybe,
Hunger Games.
I mean, you're not going to write the whole book in this tense, are you?
No, it was to see what I had, like, those first 2 paragraphs in present tense, and then I went into past when I started talking about Angelica, but then that didn't seem right. So
no, because then you're like, then mercifully it's over at the end. So it's almost like you're flipping around. I didn't, for the record, I did not catch that reading through it, because by then I was so absorbed in the what's going on that the tense didn't seem to matter to me. So for the record, I didn't like say, oh, she's skipping around all over or anything.
Well, I went through and changed the second half to present tense. I changed the whole thing to past tense. So I've tried it several different ways. So I was just interested in seeing what you guys would pick up on and what your discussion would be. So, but that helps me a lot just to hear how you were talking about it. So,
okay.
Well, I hope that's helpful. Where's Rhonda?
I'll be right back. I'm coming.
Oh, okay.
Let me see what else. Welcome to the club. Well, I'm trying to remember what else you said.
Dolls, the dolls.
Yeah, the dolls it has to be a cart of dolls.
Okay.
Because the scene continues the next day.
Can
And that's
she say
important.
something like, out of the whole cart full of dolls, this one felt special, or something? Because it feels like such a loss to not get that doll, and then to hear that there was a whole cart. Like it made an impression. Like, wait a minute, she said there was only one doll. Now she's saying there's a cart full of dolls. Like it also felt like a mistake as much as it felt like, well, that's not fair that there's a cart full. Did anyone
Right.
else feel that way?
Yes.
Okay, so let's just say something like, this is the perfect one, or something. Because that's what it is. She was looking for that specific doll for a specific reason, because of the way that it looked.
Gotcha.
So,
So yes, spend a little bit more time focusing on the face. So you said something about its eyes and its mouth made it real or whatever, but just spend a little bit more time describing that and how this one is different than the others, and this is the one, and so awesome.
Okay. Why didn't you want to do the description in first person?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
The description of the first, in the beginning of this, describing the village. Why didn't you want to?
Because the rest of the book is in third person.
Well, I think you're talking about for past and present tense,
Yeah,
and
sorry.
not
Well-
first, second person. So, I guess that's why I'm confused.
Well, yeah, I did mean first person, but I guess present tense too.
Yeah, the book
Oh,
is
first
like in
person.
third
Oh.
person.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I didn't really want to say there was a village because it's something that's happening in the future, and it makes it seem like it's happening in the past.
Right.
But if a book is timeless, this book could be read 2,000 years ago from now, and it could be considered the past. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or the present.
I'm
just
quiet
gonna
because I understand that it's a pickle. I don't know what you picked to do because it's just really interesting.
Yeah.
That's really why I wanted organic feedback. And you all said that the present tense kind of threw you. And so I'm probably going to put it back to past and just have the whole thing in past.
All right. When I left, I jumped up. I just got the first Hero's Journey book that I have because I've got a lot of them. And so anyway, it was Hunger Games, and it's all present tense in there. So I know that you want to write it the way you want to write it, not the way that she wrote it. But anyway, I have it if you.
So the whole book.
Yeah, pretty much is in present tense. Yeah.
But Handmaid's Tale is written past tense, correct? And Fahrenheit 451 is past tense. I think I have both of those. I could bring to you when I see you tonight for you to take a look at how they handle things like that. So I think they're out there. I just think you probably need to do a little bit of research. And I think I'm probably not the person to give advice because I don't read. I don't know. And I agree with Jamie. It's a pickle.
Yeah.
So. Right.
All right. Do you need anything else from us, Tina?
Yes,
no, you guys kind of picked that. There was that, and then I wanted to know how you felt about Angelica. That was my second thing that I kind of wanted to know.
Love her.
Are you happy to hear what we said?
Yes, I was. I was very happy. Thank you so much.
Good.
So,
all right. So did I lose? Your back feels fed, Tina?
Yes.
I lost Randy Miser, so I don't remember who's next. I just know I'm third. I think Rhonda was last, so it must be Jen, right?
Must be.
All right.
This is where I get to be quiet. My favorite time.
No talking for you. Okay, so Rhonda, how about you go first?
Okay.
Because you, I think, are her target win for this piece. So how did you feel?
I think that she did a great job. She satisfied me and herself. Because Phoebe still is, just not a super nice person to him, but I think she did a much better job of not being a horrible person to him. She she gets her opinion across to him without being mean. And so I think she accomplished what she wanted.
Excellent. Any meat for her?
Are you guys frozen, or is that just me?
It's you.
All right.
Do you have any meat for her?
I don't really think so. I think I've already given her more than her fair share of meat versions of this. And if I had read this first, I would not have had anything to say about it.
Perfect. I think she'll be happy to hear that.
Yeah, I think so too. And it seems like maybe she shortened it up a little bit too. And then also, it seems like maybe Will changed slightly also.
Well, he doesn't say about the kiss first. He says they talk about the kiss later. And I would agree with you. I was on your side that she was just too mean. But I had a conversation with this author. And I said to her that what I think was missing was just why is she mean to him? It wasn't that she was like that was it. Just her motivation was it was not clear. And I think she did a great job of just in a couple of subtle ways saying, this is that guy who was always picking on me. And it really turned it into, now we understand why she might feel a little bristly toward him. And it helped us to have a little more sympathy for her and to make her not seem so just mean for no reason.
Right. Because with this version, I can think of a particular person from my past who was just constantly picking. And now as an adult, I understand where they were coming from, but I still had no interest whatsoever in really ever seeing this person again. So with this version of Phoebe, I relate to that, where before I didn't.
Awesome. That's great. Tina, do you have any feedback? I know this is the third incarnation of this, and you were a fan before.
I was, and I really liked that she put back my favorite part, which was on the train looking out the window like that. I really loved that part. And she did a great job, the part where she said, and then behind the church, ... I thought that was great. That totally showed her entire motivation for having this attitude toward Will. And I thought it was a great change.
Remembered that, and it brought, made her blood hot or whatever you would want to say.
Yeah, and I also can relate to, that person that just rubs you the wrong way and makes you act irritated, even if you might not have been a minute before. So.
Okay, well, you guys both said every exact thing I was going to say. So if you agree, I think we should let her come out and celebrate.
Yay! Yes.
All right.
I was struggling so much with this, and it wasn't until I had a conversation with Jamie yesterday, which is why I kind of snickered when earlier Jamie said that we submit a week in advance, and I was like, or a day before, you switch it out if your friends are nice to you and let you do that. But a conversation with Jamie yesterday that really finally clicked it with me when she said it wasn't what she's saying, it's just why is she saying it? And I'm like, oh, I know you're going to learn that eventually, but you're right. I need to show some of that before now. And I think it's interesting, Rhonda, that you said that she's not being as mean or what. I didn't take anything out. I just added stuff. So all the things you thought was mean before, it's all still in there. I just added more information, like background information, like motivation. And so now it doesn't feel out of place or feel like just nasty. It feels like a response. Yeah. So everything you guys just said just makes me so happy because
yay!
I can finally move, and I already have moved on to other chapters. But this was just such a burden because it's the first chapter. It has to be right. So, yay! So, I'm glad that you guys don't dislike her like you did before because I really love this character. And I'm really glad that she's still sassy. She's got to be sassy. She has to have a little. There's a reason why no pastor, no preacher student wanted to marry this girl.
Scoop her up.
Yeah. Scoop her up, which is something said in second chapter.
Yeah, I have to say, being sassy and a pastor's wife sometimes can get you into trouble.
How would you know, Tina?
Just have a feeling.
right. Well, thank you,
Okay,
ladies.
so is your
Appreciate it.
back sufficiently fed, or did you need some more?
My back is completely fed. Thank you.
All right, it's my turn, so I'll shut up now. Oh, but the feedback I was looking is just general. Obviously, this was an exercise I did of dialogue only, and I just kind of want to know your impressions of it. If you enjoy it, that sort of thing. What could it use or not? Whatever. So just in general. Okay, I'll shut up now.
All right. Who wants to go first?
Well, I've got some opinions.
Do share, Rhonda.
That's like a scary sentence.
Look at how in shock we all are that Rhonda has an opinion.
Okay, all right, okay. This author, I think her strength is usually dialogue. And I think this time she did a fantastic job. Again, she does a good job with description, and I like basically everything I've ever read from anything she's done anyway. But the fact that this was, you had to get your setting, you had to get your really description of anything out of just the dialogue. I think she did an amazing job. And I would like to see more of the story just to see if she ever adds more description other than dialogue in it. I can tell basically what part of the country that these people are in. And I like how they're talking about this woman, but this woman doesn't really, from what I can remember, doesn't really ever pipe up and say anything of her own. So I really thought it was a great experiment.
Yeah, there's just two people talking.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I love what she did with only dialogue, no tags, no description, and told the entire story. I love that. So that will be my first piece of bread. My meat is that it got confusing. At the end, and I read it a few times to try to figure it out. At the end, when the person says, I'm gonna see if she needs help. I couldn't figure out which person it was saying that, and here's why. Because she said, the person who was complaining the whole time says, that attendant is never around when you need him, I swear. And then the next person says, I'm gonna go see if I can't help that little girl. Then the next line is, the person speaking, they said, wait, what? Anyway, you keep going down, and it says, you listen to your music. What was that you say you like? And she says reggae. But it was the other person that was mentioning reggae earlier. Like, if you follow the lines. So I can't tell if there's a line that got missed, and the person that was daydreaming the whole time they did laundry is the person that helped out, or the person that was daydreaming the whole time is the person right here that says reggae. So maybe I missed something and you guys can help me. But I know what she was doing. I know what she was trying to do with this, and so I hate to have her put any tags in just to satisfy me if maybe I'm just lost. So maybe my suggestion, my part of me would be try to make them talk differently. The two have a very similar accent in the way that it's written, and then maybe if that was drastically different, it'd be easier to keep them separated. So having said all that, my last piece of bread is I don't want her to put tags in. I think that it is excellent that she told, like you said, Rhonda, everything came from the dialogue, and I love that she told an entire story with just dialogue, and I don't want her to do that. I just would like maybe some clarification on what I'm confused on, and maybe it's just me, or maybe there's something that needs to be tightened up, but that's what I thought.
Awesome. And my bread is, I love the sensory description of doing laundry.
Yeah.
That I was kind of gravitating toward that person's dialogue, and I was really even almost not paying attention to the other person's
The
dialogue
negative person, yeah.
because I was like, yeah, I want to hear about the soap and the quarters going in and like.
Yeah.
I really, really loved that, and I really loved that it was all dialogue and no tags, just like you said. It did get a little bit confusing towards the end, but I don't think I got lost. But I do think I had to go back and read it one more time at the end there. But I don't know, mostly bread. It's just like all bread and maybe a little bit of butter.
The Miracle Whip in between there. Awesome. Anything else?
Okay, I just lost that the last thing, so I have no idea what you're laughing at. But I think that the line where it mentions the reggae, it doesn't say that. Like maybe that could be they're just offering it for the person who does like the reggae, or maybe I'm reading it wrong. I don't know.
Maybe you're saying that up earlier where it says or even reggae. She's mentioning it because she knows the other person likes reggae. That's possible. Yeah, we'll have to see what Jamie says when we let her out of isolation.
And I do like how they both have the same sound to their voice, because it just shows that they're kind of part of a group that this outsider is just coming into. And this person might have the same sound of their voice too, but we just don't know because we don't ever hear from them.
Do you think that they are both women,
So-
both men, or a
right.
man and a woman? Do you think that they are both women, both men, or a man and a woman?
I personally think they are both women.
Okay.
And I think, well, definitely different personalities, of course. Maybe one's more of a homemaker type person. The other person is less of a homemaker type person.
What about you, Tina? What did you think?
Well, I know what the answer to that is.
Oh, so then
But the first time that I read this, before I knew what the answer to that was, I thought it was two women.
I must be wrong.
I thought it was two women until I got to the end, and the person who's being left behind while the other person goes helps says, "I thought we might go out later, get some dinner. Guess not." So I thought, was this a man and a woman? So then I wasn't sure.
Oh, see, I pictured sisters.
Because of the going back and forth and ignoring each other.
Yeah, they're so familiar with each other, and yeah.
It's like a daily occurrence in this house here. All right. We ready to let her out?
I think so.
Yep.
All right, Jamie.
Let me out. No, just kidding. Okay, so let me just tell you, the reason I mostly wrote this piece was because my living situation right now, we do not have a washer and a dryer. And we're trying to sell our other house, but that washer has tanked. Yuck. So I have been spending time at the laundromat. And the whole person who's talking about the sound that the money makes when it goes in, and you know what I mean, that's me. And mostly how I feel about going to the laundromat. I kind of really don't mind it. So I kind of just want an excuse to write all that. And plus I was feeling all dammed up and jammed up with my writing. I felt all clenchy because I didn't know what to do with my work in progress. So I thought I would just sit down and write this to kind of loosen everything up. So what your confusion you are experiencing is an editing error, because I wanted to add the bit about not liking to use the lower dryers, because I do not like to use the lower dryers.
Okay.
And I went and I put that line in there, but it threw off the sequence of this person talking, that person talking. And that's why it's confusing. So I really appreciate that you caught that, and hopefully I can edit it and possibly, I don't know, the new version will for sure be up on Patreon, but it's just going to be basically a switching of lines there to make it more clear. Originally, it was supposed to be a guy. This woman is so excited that this guy is finally spending time with her at the laundromat. Like, she is like trying to be like, you know, I picture it as she's friend zoned, right? And she is like, hooray, you know, hunka burning love is hanging out with me at the laundromat. And he's all just like, why am I even here? Oh, hey, cutie, right? So that was the picture that I had in my head. Of course, obviously impossible to communicate that. through just dialogue, unless Tina had suggested that perhaps he mentioned something about the woman's figure or somehow hint that he is like a man or whatever. But then she said, as a reader, why not leave it ambiguous and let people read into it whatever that they want, right? So if you are, a single girl, you might read the story differently than if you are someone who has a sister who is close to you, and you can picture that this would be how you would talk to one another, right? Yes. And so I really like that the piece evoked different responses. I really appreciate all the positive feedback, and caught me with an editing issue. So I'm really glad that I had some eyes on this. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, great.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Love it. Do you have anything else you want to ask us, or your back?
No, you guys gave really, really good feedback. I really appreciate it. My back feels very full. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, so who was last?
Now we get to go to a picnic.
That was it? We did all 4 already?
No, we have to go to John Rhonda's picnic.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
I don't
picnic.
remember doing 4 of them.
Because you didn't do your own.
That's right.
You had to be silent. Okay, so what's so funny? Okay, Rhonda, what kind of feedback do you want before we start?
Okay, well, I wrote this and then I edited it one time, and I kind of want to know if I can get away with just a single edit, or if I need to, because there were a couple things I would have changed, and I'm wondering if the end is like the little, I don't want to call it moral of the story at the end is too abrupt or too short, or because this would be a blog post if it is not horrible. So I just wanted your overall opinion.
Okay, so into the isolation chamber you go. So first of all, who did not think Sophia Petrillo from Golden Girls? Picture it, Sicily, 1942. And you know what I mean? Like, is that not how this totally starts out? Like, or am I just showing my age by knowing that? So that is fun.
That line.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will say, for my first piece of bread, in response to the requested critique, yes, this could totally just go right now. I don't think that the author should be afraid or ashamed or embarrassed to post this as is. Any meat that I have about it is stylistically choicey, that she could decide to do or not do just based on what I might like to see as a reader. But this would not embarrass her, I don't think, if it was published as is. So again, my meat, regarding her little tagline here, though I love starting with picture it, it would be great if there were asterisks above. So kind of like when you tell an essay or a newspaper article, you tell everybody what you're going to tell them, then you tell it to them, and then you tell them what you told them. I almost feel like that format would be appreciated here, because I'm not really sure what I'm trying to read in this until the end. She tells me I'm looking for the person in my family who is the gatekeeper of the family secrets, who's got the drive to like seek that out and whatever. So I might have liked a peek of that before picture it. But again, it's a thin layer of meat and is not required to make this publishable, in my opinion. And that's what I have to say about the piece.
My first piece of bread is that she does a great job with dialogue as well. I feel like that I could see each of the relatives and the uncles, like we all have those same relatives just with different names, and I just thought she did a really great job with that. My meat is a couple things. I as well, the tag on the end I thought didn't match at all. Like when I read it, I honestly thought that she'd accidentally left that on there. That it belonged to another piece or something. So what Jamie said would help, I think, if you had something at the beginning that kind of, like you said, tell us what she's about to tell us, and then go into the story. And then as far as whether or not she could put this up as a blog post, yeah, I think the writing is great. I think that I agree with Jamie. There's nothing embarrassing about it, but to me, personally, it doesn't read as a blog post. It maybe memoir-ish, and I guess you could do an entire blog that's memoir-ish, but generally blog posts have like a purpose and will have a reason that would draw me to come and read it. So the storytelling I think is unique, and I think that would be very cool if she could figure out how to do that, but also get to the point where there is, like, when I would read this, why would I come back and read something else? Oh, this is a nice little story about Rhonda, but what does it have for me? Blogs are instructional. They teach you something, or you learn something. People would go on the internet and search for something, and hopefully your blog post would come up because it would be information. And so I think that by adding something at the top, like you had said, Jamie, would help to help us focus on, oh, this is what this story is about. And I think that her purpose is to talk about how there's only one person or two maybe that are interested in preserving the history, and it's because of passion. So maybe she should either pick passion as like the topic and write a paragraph or two at the beginning about that, and then at the end cap it off with how do we find that person who has passion, or how do we harness our passion for it, or do you know what I'm saying? Like, what do I as a reader, what can I take away from this? It's a great story. She's a great writer, undoubtedly. But for a blog post, I would want to see something that would be Google searchable.
You know, that's really interesting, because I had this question, like, because I've been reading a lot of essays, and I thought to myself, if blogging was available to, say, C.S. Lewis, his essays would have been probably put up on like a blog, but they're essays and they're not blog posts. And I was not able to put my finger on the distinction. And having just said all of that helped me to understand why blog posts are blog posts and essays are essays, and that there's a distinction. Like, just, it's a reader expectation thing, kind of like the tropes of a genre would be, is what you're saying. You're saying someone from a blog would be expecting a recipe or a how-to or a, right? And so you're saying that it might be mislabeled as a blog, not that there's anything wrong with the writing, but just the expectation of a blog reader would be different.
Right, exactly. Now, if her purpose, maybe we need to ask her, be able to ask her this when she's out of isolation, maybe her purpose isn't to instruct, she just wants to be able to do like a memoir style, but it be online. That's totally fine, but I would stop calling it blog. Would
you then? Yeah, and so you could like call it a journal or a journey, or essays
memoirs of a historical addict or something, I don't know, like that, to where people know that they're just tuning in to just read, and I think that she's a good enough writer that she probably can get a following by doing that.
Yeah.
But that has to be her purpose. So she's got to figure out what the purpose is. But she also understand that you're not going to be as Google searchable. You're not going to be as, like, SEO isn't going to be as, people, it's those kind of titles on blog posts that are, how, for genealogy, I guess it could be
top 10 lists and stuff like that. Yeah.
Or finding the passion in genealogy would be something that would be searchable, so.
Gotcha. What do you think, Bambina?
I loved the story. I felt like it brought out, it could have been anybody's family. It brought that whole picnic to life. For me, it was wonderful. I loved the story.
Didn't you love the squishy ant? The squishy hug from the ant?
Yeah.
Was the best.
And the boy who had been in the water and he was all wet. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she's like, oh, who is this? Ben Franklin? I totally could picture this actually being the author. Like, talk about autobiographical. Very funny.
Yeah. It was very, very good. And I loved the little blurb at the end. It made me go back and reread the story, because it painted the story in a different light for me once I read the blurb at the end. So my meat would be, I would have liked to have that at the beginning, so that when I read the story, then those pieces about the people who were passionate about telling the stories about the family past would have come out more in the story.
Well, and I can
see
focus. A whole series about keys, right? Because she talks a little bit about a key ring and which key, so she could like talk about keys a little more in like a first bit or whatever. But yeah, I mean, like, yes, Tina, I agree with you, and I'm glad you enjoyed the piece as well. I think that's unanimous.
Yeah, and I think that the ending paragraph could also work at the beginning much better too if she made it personalized too. If you're trying to get other people in a blog post like in with you, you would write more I. Like instead of saying we have vital records, you say you may have vital records if you're lucky, and maybe even some photos. You put you in there instead of like we, and it makes the person feel like you're talking to them because blog posts are more personal than other types of writing. But yeah, I really liked her writing in this.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So as far as her feedback about whether she could put it up as is, I think she could.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I mean, I know where she's coming at with that, because sometimes something is good enough with a once over and you don't want to like chew it and gnaw it to death and like, chew the life out of it. You just want to be, you want to just make sure it's not going to embarrass you. That's what Dean Wesley Smith has his wife read what he wrote. And if she says this won't embarrass you, he just publishes. You know what I mean? Because there's not a whole lot of time for filling around if you're going to be really quickly publishing. So I think we should let her out.
Sounds good.
I agree.
Come on out.
Okay, I'm out. Okay, thank you guys so much. I'm absolutely on cloud nine with what you had to say. I really appreciate it. Jen, you are 100% correct. I write all these blog posts exactly how you described a blog post should be. And when I wrote this the other day, I thought, I'm not doing that. I'm writing something completely different. I'm not using a single keyword, no, long chain keyword sentences, anything like that. I am just going to write exactly what is coming out of my brain right now. And so, Jamie, when you mentioned the whole essay aspect of it, I didn't have that articulated in my mind the way that you did, but that explains exactly kind of what I was going for. Now, I do agree, the last paragraph, I do agree that I should have put that at the beginning somewhere. And I did kind of just tack it on at the end so that it could be some sort of like an action point for somebody, and it's not really, but more in the blog post category instead of just only my little story here. Because I do want to be able to add stories, because I want it to be sort of a logbook for my family to read in generations, or maybe not generations, but when I go back in 10 or 15 years, I want to remember, because it wasn't really exactly how my weekend went, but I mean, a lot of the aspects of that did come from my weekend. And
do you wonder if people who wrote those old letters, like if they sort of embellished when they were writing, you know what I mean? Like, do you just wonder?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So Sophia Petrillo, absolutely. Sometimes when I tell a story, she's on the shoulder right here, and I just had to, yeah. So you're absolutely right about that. Let's see, what else did I write?
So you're Sophia, and I'm the St. Olaf lady.
All right, I'm super
Jen
tall, so I
Blanche.
must be Arthur. What was her character's name? Great.
Oh no! Then I have to be the sex pot.
Oh. Well,
just wait till my husband hears that. I wonder how he'll feel.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you, all of you. Tina, unfortunately, you kept. I kept losing you, so I didn't really hear much of what you had to say. But I'm just going to assume that it was all raving.
It was. She loved it. It was very positive. Yeah.
And my suggestion was that you put the blurb at the beginning. Because I loved the blurb, and it made me go back and reread the story.
Oh, good.
From the point of view of the blurb, so.
All right, well, I'm going to take your advice on that.
Rhonda, you're going to have to watch all of the podcasts, because the information is going to be all new to you.
It will be, yeah. It's very helpful for me as a writer. I'm sure it will.
Hey, and I love the idea that you just sat down and wrote whatever you wanted to, that you didn't worry about it being a blog post or whatever, because that's the cool thing, is that this is different. Now you can go back and you can like put like a paragraph at the beginning and at the end, and make it more bloggy if you want, or you can put it like this. It's totally your blog, so you can do whatever you want. But I love just writing. Get the writing out. What's going on inside of you. Get it out, and then you have a fantastic piece. And I love that.
Right, because sometimes that's what stops me from getting these blog posts or articles written is that, nonfiction, there's only so much nonfiction you can write before you need to, expand, let your creativity come out into something that doesn't have to be completely factual.
Well, I'm really glad that you decided to share this with us. It was really a nice change from fiction, and it was still great fun to read. It was not, I don't know why, nonfiction is like the accounting of the writing world. Everybody is like, oh, that's going to be dreary. And it was not. It was a joy to read.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, ladies. I appreciate it.
Great.
Okay, so does this wrap up our postcast?
I guess so.
I think so. We're all done.
Well, till next time,
We're off to get pictures taken tonight.
We'll all be famous next week. We'll be on the cover of Vogue.
Rogue, baby. Rogue magazine. I don't know about
maybe
Vogue.
Mad Magazine.
Mad
BBW.
That's much better.
Okay, well, I have to go find my shoes because I don't have the right footwear, so I'm going to wear my Doc Martens.
The right
Cool.
footwear.
That sounds like the right
We
footwear to me.
have to wear the right footwear. I'm in trouble.
Right.
Well,
Me
you
too.
need to wear a right and a left, and then you're good.
I have flip-flops. That's what I got. That's
All
what I'm
right.
wearing.
Well, we'll make sure not to take many foot pictures. Does your husband take foot pictures?
No.
No.
Oh.
No.
All right, we better stop. Okay.
Hey, I have to bring Phoebe with me tonight because,
Fine.
my aunt's not feeling well. So,
Oh.
yeah. So I did tell you had a dog, but I'm not sure how Teddy is, if Teddy likes kids or not. But I will tell her to leave Teddy alone. No, Teddy's good with kids?
We'll want
That's great.
I know, but all right, good. She'll be very excited about that.
All right, well then should I offer to bring one of my kids, or do we not want to turn it into kids playing together?
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay,
we're recording, it's not live, so it's
Well, I won't give the girls a choice between helping Dad clean out the garage or coming to play with the dog. I will give my husband the choice. So we'll see if I show up.
Right.
Sounds good.
All right, talk to you guys later.
I will not
Bye.
be inviting
Podcast.
Christopher.
Bye, everyone. See you
Bye,
next week.
patrons.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.